I remember the day she arrived like it was yesterday. Dad was smiling, carrying flowers and wearing that goofy grin he always wore when he thought he was doing something heroic. "Johnny, I want you to meet someone very special," he said, his voice trembling slightly with excitement. I looked up from my homework and froze. "Special? Who?" I asked, trying to sound casual. Dad gestured toward the doorway. That's when I saw her. Evelyn. She walked in like she owned the place, her smile wide and perfect, but it didn't reach her eyes. Not really. "Hello, Johnny," she said, her voice honey-sweet. "I've heard so much about you." I nodded cautiously. Something in me recoiled, but I didn't know why. "Hi," I muttered. "Lily. Come here, darling," she cooed, instantly picking up my little sister like a prized doll. Lily giggled, hugging her tight. My chest sank. That shouldn't hurt, but it did. Dad clapped his hands. "See? Isn't she wonderful?" I tried to smile, but my stomach churned. There was something off, a quiet tension under her perfect exterior. Later that evening she tried to bond with me. "Johnny, you must tell me everything about your hobbies. I want to understand you," she said, leaning over my desk. I like reading and drawing," I replied cautiously. "That's sweet," she said, but her eyes flicked to the stack of comics beside me. "Do you really think those childish things will help you in life?" I felt my ears burn. "They're just fun," I mumbled, keeping my voice steady. "Oh, of course," she said, smiling that practiced smile. "I just want you to succeed, you know? Lily will have everything she needs to shine." I stiffened. "What about me?" I asked quietly, almost afraid of the answer. Her eyes softened slightly, but the words that followed stabbed like knives. "You'll have what you deserve, Johnny. Don't worry." Dad didn't notice. He laughed nervously. "She's just joking, son. Don't take it seriously." But I couldn't shake it. There was a coldness there, a careful calculation I couldn't understand at the time. Over dinner, she took charge of everything, pouring drinks, assigning chairs, asking my father which dishes he liked. I tried to join the conversation, but every time I spoke, she cut me off gently, redirecting the topic to Lily. "Lily, tell me about your day," she said warmly, and my sister's eyes lit up. I tried to smile at her, but my own dinner lost its taste. Afterward, she offered to help me with my homework. "Let's see how we can improve your grades, Johnny," she said, peering over my shoulder. I handed her my notebook, but she frowned slightly. "I think you can do better than this. I wouldn't want you to embarrass yourself in front of everyone." I swallowed hard. I was trying my best," I whispered. Her hand touched my shoulder lightly. "I know, sweetie. That's why I'm here, to guide you." Guide me, I thought bitterly. She's here to control me. That night, I lay in bed, listening to Lily hum in her room, Dad's soft snoring, and the distant sound of Evelyn tidying up downstairs. I stared at the ceiling, my mind spinning. I didn't fully understand it yet, but something inside me whispered, I couldn't trust her. Fear, confusion, and anger twisted together in my chest. I wasn't just wary, I was already preparing myself. Somewhere deep down, I knew this was the beginning of a long, painful journey. And I hated her for it, though I barely knew her. I thought I could survive her first week, but Evelyn made it clear I wouldn't. "Johnny, did you really forget your homework again?" she asked one morning, peering over my shoulder with that sharp, sweet smile. I tried. I started, but she cut me off. Tried isn't good enough. "Lily never forgets hers," she said, placing her hand gently on my sister's head. "She's such a model student, isn't she?" Lily nodded, smiling innocently. "Yes, Mommy." I clenched my fists under the table. I'm trying," I whispered. She murmured, tilting her head. "I hope trying is enough someday." At school, I wanted to forget her, but she followed me in my mind. During recess, my friends laughed and tossed a football. "Come on, Johnny. You're always so quiet." Mike called, tossing the ball toward me. I caught it, forcing a grin. "I'm fine, just tired." "You always say that," Sarah said, frowning. "You don't talk much at home?" I hesitated. "It's complicated." The bell rang, dragging me back into classes. Mrs. Green, my English teacher, noticed my distraction. "Johnny, are you feeling okay?" she asked quietly after class. I looked down. "Yeah, I'm fine," I said, but she didn't seem convinced. "I just want you to know, if you ever need to talk, I'm here," she said softly. I nodded. I wanted to tell someone everything, but I couldn't. Evelyn's shadow followed me everywhere, and I didn't want to worry anyone. When I got home, Evelyn was waiting with her usual grin. "Johnny, I noticed your teacher gave you a B on your last assignment," she said, looking disappointed. "That won't do. Lily always gets A's." I studied hard, I said, my voice trembling. Oh, I'm sure you did. But some of us have to set higher standards for ourselves. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. Dad walked in, cheerful as always. Hey kids, how's homework going? It's fine, I muttered, not meeting his eyes. Fine. Evelyn repeated softly, shaking her head. I think Johnny could use a little more guidance. Dad didn't notice my glare. Guidance is good, he said, oblivious. That night, I hid in my room, pretending to read. Lily knocked softly. Johnny, can you come play for a bit? She asked. Not now, Lily, I said gently. I have to finish something. She frowned but didn't press. I sighed, closing my notebook. I hated that I had to hide myself, but Evelyn had made it clear that any mistake would be magnified. Over the weeks, she isolated me from friends too. Why do you need to go out so often? Don't you want to stay home and study? She'd ask when I mentioned seeing Mike or Sarah. I do want to go, I said, trying to sound confident. I think staying home is better. You need to focus. Lily can play outside if she wants, she said, dismissing me. My father rarely intervened. Once I tried to speak up. Dad, she's making me feel like I can't do anything right. He frowned. Johnny, don't exaggerate. She's just helping you. I wanted to scream, but I swallowed it. I learned to keep secrets, to hide my true feelings. My anger and hurt hardened into a quiet strength I didn't fully understand. Yet, in fleeting moments, there was hope. Mrs. Green's kind words, Mike's teasing laugh, or Lily's innocent smile reminded me that life outside Evelyn's control still existed. And I clung to that because I knew, one day, I wouldn't be trapped under her shadow. One day I would be the one in control. Until then, I learned to fight silently. It started like any other morning, but I had a bad feeling the second I saw Evelyn hovering near the kitchen table. Johnny, you were supposed to take out the trash last night, she said sweetly, holding a folded paper. Or did you forget again? I didn't forget, I said quickly. You just what? Left it for me to do? Lily helped me last night, you know. She never forgets, she said, turning to smile at my sister. Lily beamed, completely unaware of the tension. Dad appeared behind her. What's going on? He asked, smiling. Nothing, just little Johnny being forgetful again, Evelyn said smoothly. I found this note under his bed. I froze. Note? What note? She held it up like a trophy. This letter. It says someone plans to ruin Dad's business meeting by spilling juice on the contract. How strange, right? My heart stopped. I didn't write that. I shouted. Evelyn tilted her head, eyes innocently wide. Oh, then who did, dear? Dad frowned. Johnny, is this true? No, I swear. I would never. My voice cracked. Son, calm down, Dad said, putting a hand on my shoulder. Maybe it's a joke, right? It's not a joke, Dad. I didn't do anything. I pleaded. Evelyn gasped softly, clutching her chest. Johnny, I only want you to understand responsibility. You see, I found this under your pillow. It's very convincing. I would hate for Dad to lose his meeting because of a silly prank. Evelyn, are you serious? I asked, my voice tight with panic. Very serious, Johnny, she replied, her smile unwavering. I'm just trying to help. Dad shook his head, looking worried. Son, I don't know what to say. I trust you, but this note is concerning. I didn't write it. I shouted again, but the words felt empty. Evelyn stepped closer, placing a hand lightly on Dad's arm. Maybe it's time Johnny faces consequences. A week without his video games and computer might teach him to be more responsible. I felt my stomach drop. But Dad. Enough, Johnny, Dad said, still trying to be gentle. I trust Evelyn on this. You need to understand how serious things are. I wanted to scream, to tell him she was lying, but I couldn't. My voice faltered, my confidence slipping. Dad nodded at Evelyn, trusting her judgment completely. As I went to my room, my chest burned with anger. I slammed the door softly, trying not to wake Lily. I didn't do this. She's lying. I'll prove it someday. I whispered to myself, shaking with fury. Evelyn's voice came from the hallway, sweet and cold. Johnny, remember, I only want the best for you. Try to think about your actions carefully. I clenched my fist. Her voice, so soft and innocent, now sounded like nails scratching against metal. Later, lying on my bed, I replayed the morning over and over. Dad's blind trust in her, my own inability to defend myself, the crushing sense of betrayal. It was too much. I realized something I hadn't before. I couldn't rely on anyone. Not Dad, not friends, not even my own voice. I felt a strange clarity. If I stayed like this, powerless, I would always be at the mercy of people like Evelyn. She had taken something fundamental from me, my dignity, my sense of justice, my right to be believed. I won't let her do this to me again, I whispered into the darkness of my room. I won't be weak. I'll make sure she never gets away with hurting me, or anyone else, ever again. The first seeds of my plan were planted that night, watered with anger and humiliation. Every small injustice I had suffered under her smile became fuel. I vowed to grow stronger, smarter, sharper. And most importantly, I vowed to take control. Evelyn might have won today, but I swore to myself that she would never see the full measure of my strength coming. I would learn, I would wait, and I would strike when the time was right. I curled up on my bed, feeling a mix of rage and determination I had never felt before. This was the moment everything changed. I wasn't the powerless child I had been. Not anymore. I closed my eyes and let the vow echo in my mind. One day she would understand what it meant to cross me. By the time I was 15, I had learned two things. Evelyn never changed and I had to. Johnny, why are you always buried in books? Evelyn asked one afternoon as I flipped through a thick history text. Her tone was light, but there was an edge. I like learning, I said carefully. Oh, of course. But don't forget Lily's also reading. She's quite advanced, you know? She smirked, glancing at my sister. Lily, she's just different, I muttered. Different or better? You should think about that, Evelyn said softly, almost sweetly. I nodded, but inside I was sharpening my focus. Every word she spoke was a clue, a weakness I could remember. Later that week I met Mark at school. He was older, clever, and knew more about life than anyone I'd ever met. Johnny, you've got potential, he said, leaning against my locker. Don't let anyone's nonsense define you. You can be unstoppable if you plan right. I don't know if I can, I admitted. You can, Mark said firmly. You just need strategy. Think 3 steps ahead. Always observe. Everyone has weaknesses. His words stayed with me. I started paying closer attention to Evelyn. The way she spoke to Dad, the subtle lies, the way she manipulated Lily. Everything became part of my mental file. One evening, Dad asked me to help organize the garage. Evelyn followed, supervising like a hawk. Johnny, make sure everything is in order. You don't want to embarrass me when guests come, she said, eyes scanning my work. Yes, ma'am, I said, hiding my smirk. She thought I was obedient, but inside I was cataloging every habit, every flaw. Later, she called her friend Vanessa to come over. They whispered in the kitchen, laughing softly, oblivious to me. Vanessa, I think Johnny's hopeless. I just don't know if he'll ever be like Lily, Evelyn said, shaking her head. I heard her clearly, though she didn't notice me standing by the pantry door. Hopeless, huh? Noted, I whispered under my breath. Mark's advice rang in my head. Observe, learn, wait. Every misstep, every lie, every overconfidence she displayed was a thread I could pull later. At school I started excelling. Teachers noticed my improvement, especially Mrs. Green. Johnny, you're improving remarkably, she said, handing back a test. Keep it up. Thanks, I said, thinking of Evelyn, of the plan taking shape in my mind. I didn't want just survival, I wanted control. One evening, Dad asked me to join him for dinner. Evelyn leaned over his shoulder, smiling sweetly. Johnny, you should be more polite to your father, she said. I was just about to, I said quickly. Oh good. I'd hate for you to disrespect him, she added with a wink. I nodded, outwardly obedient, but inside I was a strategist, memorizing her tone, her gestures, her weaknesses. Later that night, I whispered to Mark during our phone call. She's arrogant, careless, and thinks I'm powerless forever. Every move she makes is predictable. Good. That means you're ready, Mark replied. Patience. Timing is everything. Keep building your strength. The shadows are your ally. I smiled quietly to myself. He was right. I was no longer just a victim. I was becoming someone capable, someone who could wait, observe, and strike when the time was right. I realized that day that duality was my advantage. In front of Dad, I was the obedient, respectful child. In the shadows, I was a planner, a strategist, quietly assembling the tools I would need to take control. Evelyn's arrogance, her blind confidence, would be her undoing, and I would be ready when it finally happened. I looked at my reflection in the mirror that night. One day, Evelyn, I whispered, I'll be the one in control. And for the first time in years, I felt a thrill, not fear, not pain, but anticipation. The day I left home, Dad hugged me tightly. Take care of yourself, Johnny. Remember, I'm proud of you. I'll be fine, Dad, I said, but my chest was heavy. Evelyn stood nearby, smiling too brightly, waving as if nothing had ever happened. "Don't forget to write, dear," she said sweetly. "And try not to make any mistakes in your new environment." I forced a polite smile. Of course. Inside I seethed. Her perfect mask still hiding the cruelty underneath. At the university dorm, I unpacked my bag, my mind racing. Every memory of her abuse and Dad's oblivion surged back. I hated her for what she had taken from me, but I also felt something else: freedom. Later that week, I met Claire at the library. She was organizing books, her hair falling in loose waves, her eyes kind but sharp. "Hey, you're new here, right?" she asked. "Yes, first semester," I replied. "I'm Johnny." "Claire," she said, shaking my hand. "Need help finding anything?" "I'm just looking for history references," I said, trying not to seem awkward. She smiled warmly. "History, huh? That's a brave choice. Most people avoid it because it's too heavy." I laughed softly. "I guess I like heavy things. Makes life feel real." "Real can be good," she said. "Sometimes it's painful, but you grow stronger." Her words struck a chord. "Yeah. I've learned that the hard way," I admitted, thinking of Evelyn. Claire's eyes softened. "Want to grab coffee later? We can talk about books, or life." I hesitated but nodded. "Sure. That'd be good." Meanwhile, back home, I heard from a mutual friend that Evelyn had thrown another high society dinner. Champagne, laughter, carefully posed smiles. Her friends gushed about her charm, unaware of the person she truly was. "She's perfect, isn't she?" my friend whispered. I clenched my fists, imagining the lies behind her flawless facade. Perfect for others, but I knew better. Back in the library cafe, Claire handed me a coffee. "You seem tense. Everything okay?" I just left home," I admitted. "It's complicated." "Do you want to talk about it?" she asked gently. "I'm not sure," I said, swirling my coffee. "I've been hurt a lot. I've been planning. I don't know if it's revenge or just justice. But it's hard to think about anything else." Claire studied me. "Johnny, you can't control what others do, but you can control yourself. Don't let anger steal your life. Use it to fuel growth, not destroy yourself." Her words warmed something frozen inside me. Maybe that's what I need. Someone to remind me I'm worth more than this pain. "Exactly," she said softly. "You're not your past, Johnny. You're stronger than you know." I smiled genuinely for the first time in years. Her support was different from anyone else. She didn't pity me, she understood me. Over the next few weeks, Claire became a steady presence. We discussed classes, life, and dreams. I realized I was capable of happiness, even with Evelyn lurking in my memories. And yet, every time I thought of home, I felt a fire ignite. Evelyn's arrogance, her illusion of control, her high society charade, it all reminded me that one day she would have to face the consequences. "I won't let her keep me down," I whispered to myself that night, looking out the dorm window at the city lights. "I have my life now, and I won't let her shadow it. But I won't forget either. Not ever." Claire's words, my own resolve, and the quiet power I felt coursing through me reminded me that this was only the beginning. I had escaped, but the battle wasn't over. I had to be smarter, stronger, and ready. Freedom tasted sweet, but it was edged with purpose. I was no longer the victim of Evelyn's cruelty. I was a young man with a plan, allies, and a burning desire to reclaim control over the life she tried to steal. And one day she would see just how unstoppable I had become. It started with small moves. I knew she thrived on appearances, so I decided to crack that facade. At one of her high society parties, I arrived under the guise of being polite. Evelyn floated past, radiant in pearls, greeting her friends with exaggerated warmth. "Johnny, you remembered to be charming, didn't you?" she whispered, brushing past me. "Yes, ma'am," I said quietly, letting my smile seem obedient. Inside, I was calculating. Later, I approached Vanessa, Evelyn's confidante. She was laughing at one of Evelyn's exaggerated stories. "Vanessa," I said softly, "do you really believe everything she says about Dad's business?" She frowned. "What do you mean?" "Sometimes her stories don't match reality," I whispered. "I've seen things. She exaggerates, even lies sometimes." Vanessa's eyes flicked toward Evelyn. I could see the doubt forming. "Are you serious?" "Completely. Watch closely next time she speaks. Things will not add up." Vanessa nodded slowly, her trust in Evelyn shifting ever so slightly. I felt a thrill. A single seed planted could grow into chaos later. During dinner, Evelyn turned to me. "Johnny, sit properly. You're slouching again. Yes, ma'am, I said, keeping my tone measured. But I noticed her hand tremble slightly when she laughed at a guest's joke. A tiny crack. After dinner, I struck again. I joined a conversation among her social circle, dropping subtle hints about her lies, without seeming accusatory. You know, I heard someone mention a charity donation that didn't quite match the receipts, I said casually. Oh, that's strange, one guest replied. Evelyn's smile faltered just for a second. Johnny, don't spread rumors, she said sharply, her voice controlled but tense. I shrugged innocently. I'm just repeating what I heard. You know how gossip spreads. The conversation shifted, but I could feel the room's perception of her subtly tilting. She noticed it too. Her eyes darted toward me, suspicion finally dawning. Later, alone with Mark over the phone, I whispered, "It's working. She's starting to notice things aren't perfect." Good. But don't get reckless. Small moves, quiet pressure, he reminded me. I nodded, though he couldn't see me. Every slip, every misstep. I'm cataloging it all. The next morning, Evelyn confronted me. "Johnny, why were you talking to Vanessa about that?" I was curious, I said, keeping my tone calm. I just wanted to understand how things worked. "You should stay out of grown-up matters," she said, voice sharp. "I think you're crossing a line." I smiled faintly. "I'm just learning, ma'am." "I thought that's what you wanted for me, growth." She stared for a moment, trying to read me. Then she turned, huffing softly, clearly unsettled. All day I felt a mixture of exhilaration and guilt. Every subtle exposure of her hypocrisy, every tiny crack in her perfect image, gave me satisfaction, but I knew I was playing a dangerous game. By evening, I reflected quietly in my dorm. "I'm not hurting anyone physically," I whispered. "I'm just showing the truth." Is that wrong? The thrill of strategy mingled with the weight of morality. I was becoming someone I hadn't expected, precise, calculated, and willing to manipulate carefully. And yet, I felt alive in a way I hadn't since childhood. Every lie I exposed, every doubt I planted, brought me closer to the justice I had longed for. I realized then that revenge wasn't just anger, it was patience, observation, and timing. I had waited years for this. Evelyn might still think she controlled everything, but I was already shifting the balance. Each small strike left her flustered, even if she didn't admit it. I smiled to myself as I ended the day. One day she'll realize it's too late, and I would be ready. I watched from the sidelines as the cracks began to show. Evelyn, always so composed, now hesitated, stumbled, and faltered in ways I'd only dreamed of witnessing. "Evelyn, that's not what you said last week," Vanessa whispered sharply during a luncheon. I suppressed a smile. I had subtly reminded her of that misstatement earlier in private, just enough for Vanessa to notice. I must have misspoken," Evelyn stammered, her usual poise slipping. Vanessa raised an eyebrow. Interesting. I hope your other stories are more accurate." I felt a thrill deep in my chest. Finally, someone was questioning her. Later, Dad called me. "Johnny, can you come here for a second?" I entered the study cautiously. Evelyn was nearby, fidgeting. "Dad, I think you need to listen carefully," I said gently. "There are inconsistencies you should know about." He frowned. "What kind of inconsistencies?" "Evelyn has said things about your business, your schedule, even family matters that don't match reality," I explained quietly. Dad's face tightened. I hadn't noticed. "Are you sure?" "Yes, Dad," I said firmly. "I'm sure. I know you want to believe her, but it's time to see the truth." Evelyn stepped forward, her tone still sweet but shakier. "Johnny, that's not fair. I've only ever tried to help." "I know, ma'am," I said carefully, "but helping isn't lying." Dad's eyes narrowed. "Evelyn, is this true?" She hesitated, swallowed, and finally said, I may have exaggerated some things." "That's a start," I replied quietly, feeling satisfaction bloom inside me. Word spread quickly among her social circle. At one gala, a former admirer approached me. "Johnny, I've heard some troubling things about Evelyn," he said. "It seems she's not entirely honest." "I'm aware," I said calmly, letting the shadow of truth hang in the air. "She was so perfect," he murmured, shaking his head. "Perfection is an illusion," I said softly. Evelyn's face drained of color. I noticed her glance at me, realizing I had orchestrated the subtle reminders, the planted doubts. One evening I spoke to Dad privately. "She's losing her influence, Dad. You don't have to trust her blindly anymore." I see that now," he said slowly, the first hints of clarity softening his expression. "I should have noticed sooner." You're not too late, I reassured him. You can make things right. Evelyn, meanwhile, was retreating. Invitations declined, friends avoiding her calls, and social whispers following her every move. I watched it all silently, letting karma unfold. Why is this happening? She whispered one night when we were alone briefly. I suppose actions have consequences, I said softly. Even carefully constructed ones. Her eyes widened. For once, the woman who had always controlled everyone was uncertain, exposed. At school, Claire noticed the subtle shift too. Johnny, people are finally seeing her for who she is, she said. Yeah, I replied, a quiet satisfaction threading through my voice. It's poetic in a way. By the next week, Dad confronted her gently. Evelyn, I need to understand why these things happened. I thought I could trust you. I tried, but her voice faltered. You tried what? He asked. You tried to manipulate us? I didn't mean. Her mask was shattered completely now, and she knew it. I watched from the shadows, my plan unfolding perfectly. The woman who had once seemed untouchable was now scrambling, fumbling, losing control. I felt no need to gloat out loud. The satisfaction was private, deeper than any victory I could display. I had been patient, silent, and precise. Dad's eyes met mine briefly, a flicker of gratitude and understanding passing between us. Finally, he was beginning to see the truth. And Evelyn? She was alone in her unraveling, powerless, and exposed. It was the sweetest kind of justice, and I let it linger in my mind. I found her alone in the study, papers scattered, a glass of wine trembling in her hand. Johnny, she said, her voice sharp but uncertain. What are you doing here? I came to talk, I said calmly, stepping inside. We need to end this. End what? She asked, feigning ignorance. I've done nothing wrong. Nothing wrong? I echoed, voice rising slightly. You lied, manipulated, and tried to ruin me. Do you even remember what you did? Evelyn's lips tightened. Johnny, I only wanted what was best for you and your father. Best? I laughed bitterly. You call constant insults, favoritism toward Lily, and false accusations best? Her eyes darted, searching for a weakness, but I didn't give one. I trusted you once, Evelyn. I defended you. And this is how you repaid me. You don't understand, she said, shaking her head. I had to. Had to what? I interrupted. Control everyone? Lie to everyone? Destroy my childhood? My fists clenched. I'm done listening to your excuses. She faltered. Johnny, please. I never meant to. Never meant to? I pressed, stepping closer. Do you know how it feels to grow up under your shadow? To have my father blind to your cruelty? To feel powerless while you thrived? Her eyes flickered with fear. I didn't know you felt. Didn't know. I snapped. You never cared to notice. Every insult, every slight, every lie you planted was deliberate. And now it's over. Evelyn's lips quivered. Johnny, I can explain. No, Evelyn, I said firmly. You don't get to explain. You get to face reality. She sank into a chair, trembling slightly. I thought I was untouchable, she whispered. Not anymore, I said quietly. I've watched, I've learned, and I've waited. Every move you made, every friend you deceived, every lie you told, I cataloged it. And now you're exposed. Her eyes darted, desperate. You can't just... I can, I interrupted. And I will. Not because I want revenge for the sake of it, but because justice needs to be felt. You took from me, Evelyn. I'm taking back control. My life, my happiness, my dignity. She stared at me, silent, broken. For once, the woman who had manipulated everyone around her had no words, no power, no mask. I exhaled, feeling a weight lift from my shoulders. Look at me, Evelyn. This is who you couldn't break. The person you tried to destroy. And now, I decide everything. Tears welled in her eyes. Johnny. No, I said sharply. Don't speak. Listen. I won't hate you forever, but I will never let you manipulate me again. This is the final reckoning. I turned and walked toward the door. Pausing, I added softly, and remember this, control is never permanent. Actions always have consequences. She sat there, silent, staring at the floor. I felt a mix of relief and triumph, my heart pounding. The shadow she had cast over my life was gone. For the first time in years, I felt free. I closed the door behind me and let the silence settle. Evelyn's reign was over, not just socially but emotionally. I had taken back everything she tried to steal, and I would never be powerless again. I sat in my apartment, sunlight spilling across the floor, and let myself breathe for the first time in years. The chaos Evelyn had created, the constant manipulation, the lies, it was all behind me now. Dad called that morning. "Johnny, I've been thinking a lot," he said quietly. "I should have seen the truth sooner. I was blind and I'm sorry." "Thanks, Dad," I said softly, feeling a warmth I hadn't felt in years. "I know you didn't mean to be. It's okay. I want to make it right," he said. "I want us to be a family again." I paused, considering. "We can. But things will be different. I'm not the same boy you knew." "I understand," he replied. "I just want to support you." Later Lily called. "Johnny, I heard everything," she said, her voice bright but careful. "You're safe now, Lily," I said, smiling. "That's what matters." "I know," she whispered. "Thank you for protecting me. I don't even know what I would have done without you." "You don't have to," I said gently. "I'll always be here." I hung up, feeling a strange mix of relief and lingering sorrow. Revenge had been satisfying, yes, but it had never healed the deeper wounds. That work came now, quietly, in small moments of trust, honesty, and connection. Claire texted me later. "Lunch? I want to celebrate your new life." I smiled. "Sure, I'll be there." We met at a small cafe and she looked at me knowingly. "You seem lighter," she said. "I feel different," I admitted. I realized that revenge gave me control, but it didn't make me happy. What matters now is me, my choices, my growth. "That's wise," she said softly. "You've been through so much. You deserve peace." I nodded. "I've learned that independence isn't just about leaving her behind. It's about building my own life on my terms without letting the past define me." "You've changed," Claire said, smiling. "And for the better." "I hope so," I said. "I've worked hard to become someone I can respect. Someone strong, not just vengeful." That night I called Dad again. "I'm starting a new project," I said. "Something I've wanted for a long time. I hope you'll support me." "Of course, Johnny," he said warmly. "I believe in you. And I'm proud of the man you've become." I felt a deep sense of accomplishment, not because I had destroyed Evelyn, but because I had rebuilt myself. Her motives, greed, insecurity, and a hunger for control, had shaped her downfall. Mine had shaped my rise. Evelyn was gone from my life completely. The social circles she once dominated whispered about her disappearance, her lies exposed, her influence evaporated. It wasn't my doing anymore, it was the natural consequence of her choices. I reflected on the journey, the fear, the pain, the plotting, the eventual triumph. I remembered nights of silent rage, moments of doubt, the feeling of being powerless, and the slow, careful building of my strength. Each memory felt like a brick in the foundation of who I was now. Sitting back in my chair, I whispered to myself, "I'm free. I'm stronger. And I'm my own person." The journey had been painful, but necessary. I had taken back my life, my dignity, and my future. The scars remained, but they were marks of survival, proof that I could endure, adapt, and rise above. I looked at the city skyline from my window, breathing deeply. "This is just the beginning," I said quietly. "The past is behind me. The future is mine." And for the first time I felt completely whole.